Welcome to NRS YouTube channel. Dear students, in the last class we discussed DQL, DDL and DML commands. So already we have discussed all these commands and we discussed what is the select command and how to use the select command we discussed, and what are the syntax of all these commands. So we discussed select command, update command, drop command, alter command. So each and every command it has a specific syntax. So syntax is very important to communicate with the database, and commands are very important to communicate with the database. To communicate with the database, we have some set of rules and guidelines. So those set of rules and guidelines we call it as syntax, right? So almost all the commands we have covered. Now today we will see what are the main objective of the database. Okay, so the main objective of the database are, the first one we have a table. So table is a must, is the main object. Next we have queries, next is the forms, and last one we have a report. Okay, so table, queries, forms and reports are these very essential and very important objective of database. So first one we take the table. So as you already know, the table is formed by rows and columns, and whenever you insert the data information in a table, so it will put it in a particular row and column. Okay, so the each and every column we call it as a field, and the complete row we call it as a record. Okay, so that record is also we call it as a tuple. We call it as a tuple. Okay, so we call it as tuple. Right. So table is a very essential and very important object in database. Next we have a queries. So what is the meaning of a query? So query, it helps to the user and it acts as an interface between user and the server or database. Okay, so what is a query? Query, it acts as an interface between user and the server or database. So in between user and server or in user and database, so we have to use some queries, right? So in the last class, whatever I have, we discussed the commands like the create command, select command, whatever. You can take any command. So to communicate with the database, we have used some commands and we wrote some definition or a syntax. We follow some syntax, right? So that is nothing but we call it as a query. Okay, we have to write the SQL query. So to communicate with the database, so communication refers to, it may be adding some data information into the database or retrieve the values from the database. So that is nothing but query. So query, it acts as an interface between user and the database. So next we have a forms. So forms in the sense, so you already know that whenever you take the admission in your school, so we have to fill up some form, and when you want to open a bank account, so we have to fill a form for bank form. So in the same manner, here we have some digital forms. We have to create a digital forms, right? So with the help of form, you can directly enter the data information into the table. Okay, so that we have a forms to how to create the digital forms. And last we have a report. Okay, so report in the sense, so from the table, if you want to take that values or data information in a report wise, so you can generate the report. Okay, so it will depend upon the user requirement. Suppose from the student table, if you want a report of only the student name, so you can get the result. So in the form wise you can get it, right? So that we have a report. Okay, so these are the very important objective comes in a database, right? So table, queries, forms and report. Okay, so from tomorrow we'll discuss one by one how the table it works, and what exactly the query is, and how the forms will be generated, how to generate the form, and how to generate the report, So that in between, in detail, all these objectives that we'll see in the next class. Thank you.